know that you can select English and French as always, and the recording is started. So wanted to welcome everybody here today who's joined us on this Thursday for our special topic, which is focusing on grasslands restorations. Today we have two speakers and will be joining us for an hour. And our speakers represent perhaps two slightly different sectors of the grassland restoration space. One, Joseph Carrier, who you see on the screen, or at least I see him on the screen. He's going to share a pitch about his business and a little bit how he got started and what this has meant for the communities he works with. He's an entrepreneur in the grassland restoration space who's been really instrumental in increasing the productivity of the grasslands for the benefits of the communities, of their herds, and also making a business of it for himself, because this can be a win-win for everybody. And our second speaker is Amos Thiongo, who's coming at us from Conservation International Ventures. And there you can hear a little bit about the programming that they're working on and what they're seeing across the geographies of the arid and semi-arid lands in Kenya and perhaps beyond. So this will be a little bit of an investment update, a little bit of a preview of the investor session that we'll be having next week, as well as just hearing from additional people who are working with grasslands. I want to just put the message out there for everybody that land restoration is not just about trees. I think we're learning that. I think we're bringing that message to the Land Accelerator entrepreneurs all the time. We're working with farms to make them more productive, sustainable. Entrepreneurs are working with agroforestry, bringing trees to farmlands, working with conservation and buffer areas, biocorridors, and also working on grasslands. So maybe without further ado, the way that we might want to do this session today is hear from Joseph. We're going to ask him to do his pitch. Then we can have a few questions about his business. I might lead those questions. And also we might actually have Amos want to comment on that, on what he's seen on the pitch as well, and add questions. So Amos and I can ask questions. Then when you start your first question, you can introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of transfer over to hear about the points that you'd like to share with us today. And then towards the end, we will open it up for questions officially. However, I want to add that if anybody has questions during our session, please put them in the chat box or raise your hand, because we'll be able to stop during the presentations and answer some questions from time to time. So I think without further ado, let's check out what Moto Feeds has been doing, and really excited. So Joseph, over to you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. As you have heard, my name is Joseph Kerry. I'm from Kenya. Our company is located in Nakuru County. We operate within Nakuru and Narok County. Basically, we are in the grassland restoration. A bit of background of why I started up the business and how I came up with the idea is that I was brought up in a community that grows crops, and we really had challenges since our neighbors were pastoralists, and from time to time we had invasion since they didn't have fodder. When it gets to the dry season, they don't have fodder, so they have to come and invade our land so that they're able to save their animals from the challenges of lack of fodder. So this would result to community conflicts. Sometimes to get even serious. For those who are in Kenya, you know, it even causes communities to fight, leading to loss of human life. So growing up, I wanted to start something that would really help these communities to overcome the fodder challenges. So our company is called Moto Feeds. I'm the founder together with Esther Wanjiko. So Moto Feeds is the name of our company. And then, so the problem that we are trying to solve, we have soil degradation caused by overgrazing, destruction of forest trees caused by grazing in the Mau Forest. Mau Forest is within between Nakuru and Narok County. We also have persistent drought caused by less tree cover, depending on livestock as the only source of income. And then, as I've just said, community conflict caused by fodder scarcity. So moving on to the next slide, the solution is planting Bomarod's grass, which is an all-season fodder, planting of trees on the part of the land remaining after planting grass for fodder, harvesting of the regenerated seeds from the grass for income, baling of the hay for future use, and sale of the excess hay for income. So I'm moving on to the next slide. Our impact, 70,000 acres of land has been restored by planting grass. Over the years, we have planted about 1.5 million trees over 300 acres of land. We have also contributed to the community about $500,000 from 2020, in 2021 alone to the Maasai household, purchasing their surplus grass. And then 900 households have a sustainable source of income for a sustainable fodder for their livestock out of our project of growing grass. Moving on to the next slide. Before and after restoration, these communities have a challenge of overgrazing. You will find that during overgrazing, all the grass is consumed and the ground is left bare. So they have to wait up to the next season and wait until the rains come up so that they're able to get fodder, which always leads to loss of livestock. As you can see, we have lost some animals here, which is currently happening. We also experienced during the last year, we had the same challenge. So after growing grass, you can see how the field look like. And after growing this grass, they're able to have enough fodder for themselves, store it. Even during the drought season, they're able to have something that they're able to feed the animals. They don't have to lose the whole livestock. Okay, the opportunity. As you might know, in Kenya, we have many communities that keep a livestock, and they only depend on these livestock for their only source of income. So we have the Samburu, we have the Pokot, and the Maasai. And then in the northern part of Kenya, we also have some livestock keeping communities, and this is the number of acreage of their total land that can be restored and help them overcome the challenges that come with the lack of fodder. So that is an opportunity that we are looking forward to. Maybe in the future, we're able to capture even these areas and be able to restore this land with grass. Okay, moving on to the next slide. So after harvesting this grass, some of it is consumed by these communities that we have partnered to grow the grass. And then the excess of it, we do buy from them and we sell to other modern livestock keeping farmers. From the first picture, this is a dairy farm. They use the hay to feed the animals. During events, from the second picture, this hay is also seeds. So some event organizers do come to purchase the hay, which they use as sitting places during the event, which is also a source of income. And we also have, during the recent years, we have been having issues with our our wildlife. They really suffer during the drought season. So we're able to partner with the national parks and sell this hay to them to save the wild animals from the drought challenges. We also have animal feed stores, which are really big customers because they do buy in bulk and then sell in small quantities to other farmers. So we do supply to them this grass so that they're able to sell to other farmers. So competition, we have some people also who are in this business. The main company that is really working on also grass is called Rongai Feeds. We also have Bulk Hay Limited. Part of our competitive advantage is that we do deliveries. These are our trucks. So we deliver to each client. They don't have to come to our farm, or to where we are sourcing the hay. So we make deliveries to them. Over time, we have created some good partnership, and we're able to give them to supply the hay, and then they pay once it's delivered on their farm. They don't have to have the struggle of coming to check and confirming. So we just deliver to them, and then after confirming the number of bales, they're able to make their payment. So moving on to the next slide. So over the years, this has been our growth. So we're expecting to do more. As time goes by, we are hoping that things will get better, especially this year. We plan to make more, because we have rains. We have no challenges that like the ones that we experienced during the previous year. So we are hoping that things will even be better this year. Okay, moving on to the next slide. This is our team. This is a team that are working to ensure that we have grass, we have things moving. So the main people who are working on this are 5, but we also have some other casuals. We have drivers, so we are quite a team. But these are the main guys who are always working on ensuring that everything runs on smoothly. So we were seeking to raise this amount. We need to purchase a harvesting machinery, which is a tractor and a baler. We also need to have seed banks and hay storage. We also need to put up some tree nurseries, and we also need to do some marketing and get into other regions. So I forgot to mention about the tree. Part of what we do, we partner with these communities to grow grass. So you find that someone has 100 acres, and after putting the maybe 50 acres under grass, you find that the rest of the land is left with no use. So we encourage them to plant trees, of which we provide the seedlings at affordable prices. So that is how we have been able to merge up the trees and grass as part of restoration, and also make some profit out of it. So that's how we decided to merge the two, grass and tree seedlings. So moving on to our partners, we had Equity Bank, which came in handy to finance us on acquiring the tracks. We also have worked with the WWF. As most of you know, in Kenya we have had drought challenges for quite some time, and WWF has been sourcing the grass to some of the communities as a donation, so that they're able to save the animals from the effects of drought. So that is how we partnered with them, and we have been distributing the grass to the northern part of Kenya. Africa Agribusiness, they came in handy as part of training and coming to put things together on how to run our business smoothly. We also have Land Accelerator. Land Accelerator has been really helpful. I was part of the last year's cohort, and through Land Accelerator, we have been able to get some partnership, which it is of beneficial to us. It has really helped a lot in putting up and be able to explain our business model, be able to do the pitch, be able to do the site visit video. We are really grateful for the support that we did get from Land Accelerator, and we're also learning more from other cohorts who have been in the program, and they're also in the restoration space. Okay. Okay, to mention a bit, we are also planning to get into bees. As you might be aware, in the business world, you need to diversify some income. So for us, we are into seedlings, tree seedlings, and the grassland restoration. And having learned from other guys who are in the Land Accelerator cohort, we have realized that it's important to diversify your income, which I would encourage each and every entrepreneur here. I know some of you, or all of you, have maybe heard from Jane. Jane is doing macadamia, and she's now getting into beehives and having bees so that they can be able to diversify their income. We're also thinking of the same because we realized these livestock keeping communities, they have zero or little knowledge on crop farming. So we realized that bee farming can also come in handy because it doesn't require a lot of attention, and they just need to get some basic information on how to go about it. So we are thinking probably starting next year, it's something we are going to venture. And I'm happy because this is what I've learned from the cohorts in this land accelerator. Most of them are diversifying. We also have someone in Malawi who was doing bees, and he is also doing seedlings. So everyone is looking into diversifying, and that is something that I've realized from land accelerator cohorts. So it's something we have learned, and we need to also do it practically in our business. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Well, thank you so much for that presentation. And I also wanted to maybe invite Amos at this time, after I ask a couple of questions, to also comment on your business and what he's known. So I think it's really amazing that you're talking about the role of diversification in improving your business. Obviously, I think that's all of what you're talking about. You know, you're diversifying the pastoralists so that they can have grass for their cows, or their I don't think it's cows, but goats, whatever it is. You're talking about honey. I think that can be really exciting. Pollinating the grass, maybe the grass will even grow faster. Maybe the trees will have more output. So I did see a question from the chat, which is, you're talking about Boma Road's grass. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about how you chose Boma Road, and if you're planting multiple kinds of grass or only one kind of grass, and what the reason behind that is environmentally.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda. Boma Road in Kenya is one of the type of grass that has high nutrient value, and the demand is quite high. In terms of baling, so that you're able to store, it's quite easy to bale, and you find that it's suitable for both dairy and beef cattle, so of which the demand is too high. So it's the one that we are doing majorly, but looking to other sites, there are places that you find that they have the native grass that can be able to do well in those areas. So we also do other native grasses that do well in specific areas and can be used as fodder. So we don't base on only Boma Roads. We also look at other grasses that can do well in certain areas. So we have diversified on that. But the main thing about Boma Roads, the demand is quite high. It does well in most areas in Kenya, and it's quite easy to bale and store. That's why we majorly started with that.
And I had a question for you, which was, you mentioned a couple of competitors on your slide deck. And I was wondering, how do you see yourself, your company, as different or unique from the two competitors that you mentioned?
Yeah, so we have other competitors, but we look ourselves as we look at working with these farmers to grow the grass. We don't just go to people who have already planted and buy the grass from them. So we get the seeds and agree on partnership whereby we provide the seed, they provide the land. We also come in terms of advising them on the right time to plant, what machineries to use. We also help them to get the machineries so that they're able to prepare their land well. So for us, it's a partnership. For them, they get the benefit of having the fodder for their animals, and they also sell the excess to us. But we do drive that initiative of starting up, because starting up might be difficult. But for the other competitors in the market, they want you to do it yourself, and then they will come to purchase when you're ready. But as we start from the ground, we plant it ourselves. We help in terms of getting the right machinery, advising on the right time to plant, And that way we have been able to create a partnership with most of these farmers.
Oh, that sounds like super exciting. So you're actually really doing something to change the land use, not just going to who's already there. And along with that, as you're looking to grow very soon, to continue your growth, I think as a business, what kind of partnerships are you looking for? And what do you hope those partnerships can bring to you?
We are looking forward to partner with communities, mostly in different areas, maybe probably in the north, because the north has not been tapped. Most people are based in on the central part of Kenya, where we have plenty of rainfall. And some of the partnership we are looking forward to is to be able to have enough financial muscles to store enough fodder during, like, when we have plenty of rains. We have a lot of fodder that goes to waste, and then when it gets dry, the same problem of having the animals facing hunger comes up. So if we're able to store enough and have enough stock that will take us even through the drought period, that would be a good thing for us, because we'll be able to tackle the challenge of drought. Yeah, that I think that will really work.
So I think I see two. Partnerships there. You're looking for more financial investment for capital investment in storage facilities, and you're looking for community partners with communities in the north, so that they can start to grow for you. I think that sounds really interesting. And within our network, there's an entrepreneur that I'm immediately thinking of. I wonder if you've spoken with him, Sam Niamboga from Acacia EPZ. Have you spoken with him on that?
Yeah. Through Samuel, we've been able to communicate, and we are soon having a partnership. We are into a discussion of, because he's been able to work with communities in sites of Turkana, and is now coming down to Kabarnet. We are soon going to work with him to restore some land on Kabarnet areas.
Exciting. Perfect. Just wanted to make sure that connection has happened, because it seems too natural. Now I want to maybe bring in Amos. Amos, I wonder if you could do a quick introduction of yourself, and maybe help us transition to your topics, perhaps through talking about some of the points that you saw in Joseph's slides or in his business models.
Yeah, many thanks, Amanda, and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amos Thiongo. I work for Conservation International, and Conservation International, in short, CI, is an international nonprofit organization that works with communities on issues of sustainable development. So we are involved in a matter of environmental conservation, but specifically my role is to work with the enterprises, promoting what we call pro-nature enterprises across Africa. And most of this work, as I'll talk about shortly, is actually in grasslands, drylands, shrublands, in what we generally call rangelands. But before I transition to my talking point, is I'm actually known to Joseph, to Moto Feeds. Last year during the drought, they supplied me with hay and saved my small farm in Nakuru. And I'm very, very grateful for that, because they offered a solution that I, as a smallholder farmer somewhere, really, really needed. And certainly for so many other livestock farmers, I think that was so important. Yeah, so I think with climate change, production of fodder is one of the most important resilience practices that people will adopt going forward. So I think, Joseph, you are in the right place, and you are talking to a need that affects millions and millions of people across Africa, and especially in Kenya. So you have an untapped market. So I don't know what stops you from being a millionaire soon. But anyway, yeah, just one comment, and I know, Joseph, I mentioned this, is why most people plant bomber rods, as much as it's a very good grass species, fantastic, with very good biomass, is because there is no other grass seed that's available in the agrovet shops. Yeah, and don't you think there's an opportunity in terms of doing both fodder production, but also looking into grass seed production as well?
Yeah, thank you so much, Amos. Yeah, it's indeed true, and we have a deficit in terms of seeds. There's a demand for seeds, and we are looking into that. From our company, we partner with women, especially in those areas of Narok. We have women who go and harvest the grass manually. They harvest the seeds manually, dry them, and then after some time, we're able to thresh and come up with some seeds. So it's something that we are looking into, because you need to store the seeds well. For storage, you need to have somewhere very, very dry, so that you're able to partner with people who are able to identify the right time that you're able to harvest the seeds. So we are looking into that, because the seeds have a lot of demand in Kenya, and it's something that we can make money out of it. So we're intending to expand on that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I believe there's a big opportunity there. And Amanda, I also saw a question from the chat in terms of water, and how Joseph, you're able to deal with water, when there's no sufficient rain, and given that this is all grass fed, all rain fed.
Thank you so much, Amos. In terms of water, yeah, it's indeed a challenge. That's why we come in handy on advising. When we want to plant at a certain area, we first look at to their weather pattern and see on when they have most rain. So it has to be done when they have enough rain, because the seeds are expensive, and if you plant and they are not able to germinate, you really get into a huge loss. So we really advise our farmers not to plant at any time, and wait until when we have enough rainfall, so that we're able to plant. You also need to wait for, sometimes maybe it has rained like for 2 weeks. The soil gets wet. That is when you're allowed to plant. You just don't plant at any time. So we give this advice to the farmers. And then just to mention also, during maybe you might ask, what if it rains and you have the grass grown, and after some time you harvest and you don't have rains anymore? The good thing with these bomber rods, it regenerates itself. So you might not have rains for maybe 6 months, but once it rains, you don't have to go and plant again. So it just regenerates itself. So that's the advantage. You would inclusive, you take like 6 months without rain. So that is part of it's a bit helpful, because it does regenerate.
Thank you, Joseph. And yeah, with your permission, Amanda, I could share my screen.
Oh, that sounds great.
Thank you so much. And just quickly following up on a very good presentation by Joseph on grasslands. And I actually shifted the topic a little bit towards rangelands and not grasslands. And why rangelands is because sometimes there's a very thin line in terms of what is savanna, what is grassland, what is shrubland in Africa. So I wanted just to look at it a little bit at higher level. And given that rangelands are more a land use than a biome, and certainly, African rangelands are the heart and soul of Africa. Why do I say this? Just for everyone, think of that perfect picture of Africa. Like, what is that perfect picture that when you see it, you think of Africa? Yeah?
The Masai Mara National Park, done. No, for me.
Amazing, yeah, interesting. So for many people, it's actually the wildlife. And as you say, the Masai Mara, it's the elephants, it's the lions. Yeah, but for many other people as well, it's the livestock. It's our camels, our cattle, our goats and sheep. and not under any intensive system, but under extensive system. That's the perfect picture of Africa. And yeah.
Definitely agree, especially when you were saying it under the extensive system, like that you're seeing there. Would you want to make this full screen? Because some people are on their cell phones, maybe.
Sorry, I forgot. Perfect. I hope now it's on full screen.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. And just moving on, is what are African rangelands? And number one, I tried to come up with the definition and looked into Wikipedia, and they define rangelands as grasslands, shrublands, woodlands, wetlands, desert that are grazed by domestic livestock and wild animals. And actually, that makes 2/3 of the African continent. So 2/3 or 66% of Africa is made up of rangelands. And that is where we have the huge interaction between wild animals and domestic animals. And it's also home to over 400 million people. Yeah. But unfortunately, it's one of the most globally undervalued ecosystems. When we talk, people think of forests, and fantastic, I love forests, but not every place on earth was supposed to be a forest. Yeah, so yeah, 2/3 of Africa was not meant to be a forest. It was meant or has always been rangelands. So when we talk about restoration, is 2/3 of Africa should remain rangelands, should remain as grassland or as shrubland, woodlands, wetlands, and deserts, and not forests. Unfortunately, is that 65% of these rangelands are degraded. Yeah, and unable to meet the ecosystem services that they were meant to meet. Yeah, most of the communities here are livestock keepers, and because they are degraded, the rangelands are unable to provide sufficient fodder, sufficient pasture for the animals, because they are not living to that potential. And why are they degraded? Number one, of course, climate change is a big thing. We don't get enough rainfall, and when it comes, it's so intense within a short term. Kenya is just coming out of a very severe drought, as we all know. But then there's the whole issue of land use conversion, people trying to make cities and farms out of rangelands. Yeah, but also basically because of underinvestment in rangelands. Yeah, so, and I know this might be a point of discussion, is trees should not be planted everywhere. Trees should be planted in the right place, but certainly in the right way, and not everywhere. So the restoration is not all about tree planting, but restoration is about looking back in terms of how was that ecosystem, how was that landscape before it got degraded? Was it a forest? Then reforesting. But if it was a grassland, then making it remain as a grassland. Okay, if it was a wetland, making it remain a wetland, other than converting it into a forest. So the challenge is because of degradation and everything, African rangelands are now susceptible to desertification, and we see it. We see the Sahara coming south. We see the Kalahari moving north. And then, of course, the connectivity being lost, and then the lack of prioritization. And then eventually, and lastly, is, there are no financial incentives. So rangelands are mostly seen as wastelands, and there are no financial incentives, or the insufficient financial incentives. And those who come from Kenya can bear with me, like Northern Kenya, there's not much investment that has gone into that landscape. Yeah. But then that big challenge is also the big opportunity that with quite minimal investment in rangelands, we can make a huge difference. Yeah. By having many Josephs working on fodder and promoting fodder and livestock production in the arid areas of Kenya, we can make a huge difference. Yeah, and that is almost an untapped potential at the moment. Yeah, and just giving an examples of some of the kind of enterprises we see in the rangelands. So an easy one is the issue about medicinal herbs. So rangelands have these huge diversity of flora, so many plant species that are not found anywhere else on Earth, and they have this high medicinal value, and that is growing very, very fast in terms of demand for medicinal, for natural medicinal products. Yeah, and there are some figures there. In Kenya, for example, in north of the country, but also towards Ethiopia, towards Somalia, towards Sudan, camps and dressings. And I have a belief that probably there could be some of the enterprises and the land accelerator that are involved in camps and dressings. You know, the demand is much, much higher than that we are able to meet at the moment. Ecotourism, and by ecotourism, it's those micro and small enterprises that can be done by communities or by investors in the communities, and that is growing. After COVID, people don't want to go to the Hiltons and the Radisson Blues anymore. They all want to go into those small ecologies where it's a few people. And I think that will grow. And COVID was certainly a big pandemic, but it brought on huge opportunities. Yeah, beekeeping, and I know Joseph has mentioned this, beekeeping, just production of honey and wax and propolis, yeah, and also being able to help the human wildlife coexistence challenges and conflicts. Yeah, and eventually Joseph has spoken at length about the fodder production, but I also pointed out the grazing. And this is another big enterprise opportunity that we see. And these are just a few examples of the kind of enterprises. There is so much, because there has been the underinvestment or not very much attention that has gone into the rangelands. So there's so much potential in the rangelands that has not been supported. But just looking into what we do at CI, supporting rangelands enterprises. So we have work across different countries. So we invest here in Kenya, we're investing in Southern Africa, right from Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Botswana, Madagascar. So most of our work is deploying catalytic financial and financial technical assistance. By financial is looking at both small grants to SMEs, looking at setting up microcredit schemes, yeah, for the micro enterprises, but for the bigger SMEs, looking at concessional investment, whether in debt or also in equity. Yeah, and for financial support is the trainings and the capacity building and everything. And just down there is just an example, like the training and technical capacity building we do, the small in-kind grants, market linkages, PTS partnership. So this is the kind of approach that we take at CI, and we are working with probably hundreds of micro and small enterprises across the different countries that I've mentioned. Thank you, and happy to respond to questions.
I had a question for Amos and Joseph that came up in your slide. I really loved your slide that talked about a lot of the business opportunities that you've seen really go forward in the rangelands. And I know, Joseph, you said that you were just going to start getting into beekeeping. How are you feeling about the idea of beekeeping as a fence? Is that one of the main reasons, or what are some of the main reasons that you see that the bees would be useful in your specific communities, Joseph?
Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda. The main reason why we think beekeeping will come in handy for us, because the grass, we find that when it tassels, these bees already have something to feed on, because they'll get the pollen from the grass, which is in plenty. So the bees wouldn't have to go far. We already have food for them. So I think for us, it will really do well. And then having these communities that we partner with to grow the grass, you find that previously the only source of income has only been livestock keeping. So I think diversifying to also having getting some income from honey would really be helpful to them. It would really boost their living standards. So I think that one is so important. So that's why we think venturing into beekeeping would be of help to them.
Okay, awesome. And let's see, maybe we can go back to the chat, or if anybody has questions, this is a great time to raise your hand. I really appreciated that overview of rangelands and, how it's a land use and, not so much a biome, but I thought that was really nice to see that presentation from a bigger angle. Let me see. I think Richard had a question about the role of communities, about the role of people who live there. He says, are the itinerant farming and burning practices by the breeders, I don't know if he means by pastoralists, obstacles to the production of grasses and pastures. So I think maybe this question is getting to the point of how do you change the practices of people on these grasslands to make sure that they can collaborate and actually have a more productive land use? Maybe that's the question as well. What obstacles are you seeing in the people who live there, and how are you addressing those obstacles?
Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda. As like any other business, we also have challenges. One of the challenges, we have wildfires. So as you all know, during dry season and we have wildfires all over. We also having the same challenges with the forest. They're having fires. So that has been one of the major challenges of which you're not able to handle completely, but we try to tell the farmers to put fire breaks so that if one part of the land catches fire, it doesn't spread all over and burns the whole farm. We also have other challenges whereby you'll find that during the drought season, not everyone is able to have fodder. So someone will come, will find that livestock are moving from one part of the country to the other part whereby they think there's enough fodder. So for that, I think the government has come in handy. They're able to handle that. They provide security to farmers who are able to, who have land that maybe is under threat. So it's something that has been beyond us, but the government is really trying to come and find some solution on that. I think with time, if everyone is able to have fodder, we might not have these challenges. But for now, I think the government is trying its best to control that.
Yeah, and if I could add to that, I totally agree with Joseph, is most of these grasslands and rangelands are communal owned. So land is communally owned. It's not private pieces of land in many of these places, but it's a community that owns these hundreds of thousands of hectares together. And basically, and because many of these people are pastoralists, it means that their livestock are, roaming in their communal land, moving from one place to the other, and there are no fences. So normally, for there to be like fodder production, you need to go through an whole participatory process with the communities, and them to agree to set aside some areas that there'll be no access for the livestock. So what I've seen is then groups of men and women will request to have these areas where there's no livestock access for 1 year, and then they can start the grass fodder production. And then there are very strong communal systems of making sure that that is respected. And just to add on that, so one of the biggest challenges I've seen in grass seed production is not actually livestock, but it's wildlife. So if you're working with the Maasai communities and we have buffaloes and zebras, and you can take care of the livestock, but you also need to take care of the wildlife. So in this case, bee fences and help, because then the bees are able to keep up livestock. But certainly, yeah, there is the land tenure system, given that it is a communal land, can be an opportunity, but can also be a challenge. And as long as that participatory process in terms of identifying which areas should be for fodder production, it needs to be very, very strong. Thanks.
Okay, great. Let me see then. We have another question from Daniel about increasing population, housing, and farmland demand. How is it that you can keep fields sustainable for the grass production for 10 years or more? So I guess the pressure on the land. So how is it that grasslands are going to be able to keep that? I don't know. Maybe that's a business question, you know? Anybody want to take it?
Amanda can attempt, and it's a difficult one, and I think it's the biggest global question now when we talk about conservation and with population increase. People need more land to produce food, to build houses, to do X, Y, Z, need more roads, name it. So it's the biggest paradigm question we have at the moment. But then just looking at this is with increasing population, of course, demand for housing, but it's also increasing demand for food. So how do we balance that equally? People are having houses, but equally there's land for production of grass because grass feeds into livestock that is then food. So I think it all depends on the land use system that are being adopted. I think we need to have robust land use system that is able to demarcate and say, this is the area for housing and you can develop housing there. But then let's leave these areas as productive as agricultural land. And there you can have grass production. But certainly that is sometimes easily said than done if there is no very strong policy backing behind it. Thanks.
Definitely. Oops, I unmuted myself. A comment from John. I don't see how these proposals, maybe humans, these businesses, lead to funds towards preserving the rangelands. Well, that's interesting. I don't know if we wanted to talk about that a little bit more. So I think it's the same kind of logic that a lot of businesses here have. If you show profitability, then you get funding. I don't know, Joseph, do you want to talk about how you were able to get funding and the revenue that you're able to generate actually because of the business model that you've launched? Maybe that's where we can really specifically draw that photo of a productive rangeland.
Okay, thank you so much, Amanda. Looking at some of the crises that we have, which is mainly the drought. So you find that most people who want to bring a solution don't just want to go and bring donations during drought season. Is when you want to go and bring fodder and give to these communities. You find that most organizations are trying to find a lasting solution, how they're able to help these communities overcome the challenge so that they're able to handle the challenge by themselves. So that way it attracts a lot of people who are interested in funding these projects, but they want you to merge what you do and merge it with the community so that it's something that can be replicated somewhere else and it's something that is sustainable. So I can't really say that there is no funding. There's funding for these projects because most of organizations are trying to find a lasting solution, not having donations for these people in this crisis. So I would say there's funding for proposals on restoration. Thank you so much.
And Amos, I don't know if you had any other insights from your viewpoint as well as to how rangeland restoration is seeming to be creating value for different parties.
Yes, certainly. And from where I'm seated, I actually see a lot of SMEs or businesses that come and make proposals to us, and we are able to do investments. And by investments, I mean in two ways. It could be, if it's a big company that has a threshold of, say, over $500,000, we believe that's a big business. And in that case, we'll be looking in terms of concessional investment. And in this case, would be either debt or equity investment. And we do a lot of that. Particularly, there are smaller businesses, probably say motor feeds, that are not at that point yet, that need a bit of support towards bankability before they can attract what I would call impact or commercial investments. And certainly there you work with them deploying catalytic grants, technical assistance, to help them grow to the point that they can go out there in the market and be able to attract funds from banks or from other impact investors. So yeah, probably to John James, that's one big growing area in terms of investment in the rangelands. And I'm just thinking of, if at the top of my head, there are so many institutions, there are so many, either they are impact investors, others are return-seeking investments, whether they are banks that are actually looking to invest in rangelands, because we all realize that that has been the big untapped potential to date. And I think those where the low-hanging fruits are. So yeah, these proposals actually do lead to investments, to capital flowing into the rangelands, I believe.
I mean, I'm really excited to hear, and you know, since the rangelands are taking up such a large swath of land throughout Africa, you know, I'm interested to know if anybody else on this call is having their interventions in the rangelands. And so just if anybody wants to share what their intervention is in a an arid, semi-arid land or on the rangelands, we'd invite you anytime to raise your hand and to just share your intervention with us as well. So that's an open call for the rest of the time that we're on this call today. If you'd like to raise your hand and share a little bit about what you're doing as well, I think it would be really nice to hear from you, no matter what country you're in. I see Anne, and then followed by Joseph. So we'll go with Anne. Yes, Anne, would you like to comment?
Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda, and thank you for the presentation. I was just typing something on the chat, and then you said people raise hands. When we were discussing on the carbon credit project, I don't remember which session that one was. I went to the inbox of, I don't remember his name, Peter, and I was asking if we could participate, because we are, I think, in the grassland in Uganda, that is in eastern part of Uganda. We are doing a restoration of a degraded forest. So I was hoping that maybe we could also fit into that. And he said, no, this is, we are looking at the tropical rainforests, and that part of the country, he did a quick Google, was not falling within the tropical rainforest. And I was depressed because I was hoping.
And I think that the question is made clear. So maybe the point is that there's different financing mechanisms for different landscapes around the world.
Yes.
And so right now where carbon market is, and the carbon, this particular corner of the carbon market that they're trying to address and get investment from people is only interested in tropical forest. That doesn't mean there's no value in grassland restoration. Mm-hmm. Did you have an additional question?
Yeah, thank you so much. So I would, when we're discussing like this and I hear that there is opportunity for grassland, it makes me very happy. So yeah, that was what I wanted to say.
Yes, fantastic. I think that, you know, even the opportunities that we're hearing about today, just from my point of view, are even more real than the carbon benefits, because the carbon is something that people are trying to work out. They're trying to, you know, create a market that doesn't exist yet, that should exist. But the market for grass, for hay, for fodder, for honey exists and is real today. So if you are doing something to improve the productivity of your rangelands, you can take advantage of that today. And even what I've seen with a few of our Land Accelerator graduates who have been getting carbon credits, they're from, let's say, Latin America, where they do have more of the tropical rainforest area. Even the carbon money that they're getting from it is a very small amount when compared with the revenue flows that they're getting from their sustainably produced commodities. So I just want to encourage people that even if carbon's not working out today, do build your businesses, because when carbon will start to work for you, we don't know if it's 5 years or 10 years, it's going to be a bonus on top. It's going to be like pure profit at that point, you know. But in the meantime, you can be profitable selling things. That's my point of view. I don't know if Joseph or Amos has anything to say, what you might have seen on the carbon markets from your point of view so far.
Yes,
Amos? Oh. Joseph, and then Amos. That would be great. Mhm.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda. I think we also had the same question for a WRI, and they're able to answer us very well. TerraFund, they are still working on having experts on grasslands restoration. So just to encourage my fellow entrepreneurs, so it's something that is coming up. I'm sure with time we'll be able to have maybe more investors coming on to grassland restoration funding. So it's not something to worry about. I think it's something that is coming up so soon. Thank you.
Yeah, and just wanted to add and encourage and grace. Actually, forests, red plus carbon is a mature market, and everybody knows about it. But just as Amanda has said, the grassland carbon is at its nascent stages. It's very, very early, but it's very, very promising. And I would actually be happy to put you in touch with our colleagues who are piloting one of the very fast projects in grasslands carbon. But the numbers are not huge in terms of the kind of revenue that will generate from it. So for sure, as opposed to a forest that is able to sequester so much carbon tons per unit area, but certainly it's promising. And maybe 5 years from now, it will be a totally different story in terms of the potential there. So keep going, and I'll be very happy to introduce you to my colleagues who are really, really looking into it. Thanks.
That is so exciting, Amos, and thank you so much for sharing. Now we'll move to, oh, sorry, and yes, thank you. Joseph, we'll move to you.
You mean Joseph me, because we are two Josephs.
Yes, Joseph Kamata. Thank you so much.
All right, a very good evening, and thank you so much, Amos and Joseph, for sharing, because this is exciting for me. Our company is called Newlands. One of the things we do is we went into an area in Narok. You'd know the place. It's in Rift Valley of Kenya. And yes, I agree with you. The grazing practices are normally the pastoralists come into the place, graze as much as they can to the ground, and move on to a different place. But we got in there in 2014, and we bought pieces of land in 50-acre lots, and invited other investors to come in and buy in 5-acre lots. And one of the things that we were offering as an income for the people who would invest with your 5-acre is to plant Boma Roads hay. So it's an income for the investor, but now it became fodder source for the community. And any excess fodder is sold to nearby areas. I mean, you'd know the geography that, for example, the more in Narok, it's more range grazing, but in the near areas of Limuru, they do zero grazing. So they need that fodder. So that way it serves both communities. The pastoralist community who come and they're able to buy this fodder instead of migrating their livestock. And that was not in our plan. Our plan initially was to generate an income for the investors with a view to selling that fodder out of Narok, outside Narok. But most of our market has actually come from the pastoralists themselves, and they're very grateful because it's actually cheaper and better for them than having to migrate. Because every time there'll be a drought, they would have to look for, fodder everywhere. I'm sure I'll be getting back. I would like to reach out to you because one of the challenges we've had in terms of funding is the initial cost of, plowing, fertilizing, and every time we cut, after maybe 2 or 3 harvests, we need to boost that crop with urea and things like that. And sometimes that has been a challenge in terms of the figures you're able to give back to the investors. But certainly I agree with Joseph, it's profitable and it's a business model that is sustainable. The other good thing that we've noticed is when we fence off the 50 acres and say, for example, we plant the Boma Roads on 25 acres, the other 25 that is not, we've not planted, just by the fact that it has been fenced, it regenerates. And we're able to provide this as a controlled grazing area for a small fee. And even with using the manure that is readily available, you're able to get better quality grass. So there is a sustainability angle to it. Thank you.
Well, I think this sounds so exciting, and it really shows the interconnectivity of the businesses that we're bringing together here. Joseph, thank you so much for sharing. And I'm even thinking about, we had a presentation from Safi Organics, who's also based in Kenya. Like if you're needing fertilizers, I want to encourage everybody to check out the directory that we have on Restore Forward of all the entrepreneurs from this year again. So I think we're kind of towards the end of this session, but if I could ask Amos maybe to just kind of give a few summary points about rangelands and grasslands, what we might have heard today. And, if people want to go further, if people are on the grasslands and if they got any ideas, if you have any resources that you might suggest, Amos. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. And this has been totally exciting. And it's just to speak to the point that rangelands for the past have not received the attention they deserve. But that's where the biggest potential, they are our low-hanging fruits at the moment, and there's so much potential in terms of businesses that we can build from them. So feel free to reach out to me, especially if you are in Kenya or in the Southern Africa region. Probably we can explore what are some of those mutually beneficial opportunities we could pursue, but certainly there's so much opportunity, and encouraging all entrepreneurs in this conversation for those who are not in the rangelands to also look that way. Thank you so much, and thanks for the opportunity.
And Joseph, I don't know if you want to leave with any maybe your biggest advice for any entrepreneur who's looking to grow right now, no matter what geography they're in today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda. I'm really grateful for this session. I've also learned from the cohorts. I do follow up the Thursday sessions to learn. So, and I've listened to most of the entrepreneurs, especially the ones from Land Accelerator. And I've realized, just as I mentioned earlier, in business, you have to diversify. If you have some more income streams, that will be able to be always in the safe side. If one side fails, you will always be having somewhere else whereby you'll be getting something. So the restoration space is so big. There are so many opportunities. Just do your research well, learn from others, and you will be able to tap other opportunities that are able to support your business. You shouldn't be there having a business that is depending on one source of income. It's good to always diversify. So that is my take for now. I'm really grateful for this session.
And we want to invite any of you guys here to join us on Tuesday. So if you want to join us, Joseph or Amos, let me know. We're having our session with a few investors on Tuesday. So that's going to be our next session. So be sure to join us. And I put in the chat box for anybody who hasn't already a link to our WhatsApp group and a link to our Thursday peer session group where we share all the recordings and the presentations. So Amos, if you're able to, you can share the PDF of your presentation today, and we'll put it there, and everybody can be sure to learn more about grasslands, refer back to it, and just check out the business models today. Even if people weren't able to join, they're able to check that out. So we want to thank everybody for joining us, for keeping your mind open, learning about new forms of restoration, and we want you to have a great evening, and hopefully see you guys Tuesday and next Thursday. If you ever want to be involved, Amos, just let us know. And I know that we see Conservation International as an amazing partner, and that Samuel is probably in touch with you, but we can have some more ideas about how to work together. I think we should. So thank you guys so much, and have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, 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 bye.
Bye.